Howdy. Howdy doody.
For this weird angle, but not my best.
Good to see you.
All right, looks like we're live and we definitely have a quorum. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. 7 o'clock p.m. So it's 7:01 p.m. I call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Call the meeting to order. 7 o'clock. Maria, will you be starting with the roll call? Yeah, I call this meeting to order.
I need to mute. Okay, we're ready. Chair Nicole Moore,
Present.
Vice Chair Clarissa Tolentino,
Present.
Commissioner D. Aikman, present, Commissioner Francisco Arizon, and Commissioner Rudy Trujillo.
Present.
Okay, do we have a tiny flag somewhere for our flag salute?
I'll try to remember to bring one next time.
There you go.
How about that?
Right there. Okay, I'm gonna spotlight, or can you spotlight yourself? Well, there we go. All right, right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty, with justice for all.
Oops, I think I was muted.
Okay, so first, has everyone had a chance to take a look at the agenda for this evening?
Let's see. Just
Just giving everyone a minute to look over the agenda. Does everyone have the agenda? Yes.
yes, I have it. I'm gonna take a quick.
All right. I did just want to ask, Maria, if you could just a point of clarification. Number 2 on new business, is that the parking plan that we heard about in July?
No, it's not.
It's something else?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion.
approve the agenda.
that. Okay, in that case, I will second that motion.
Okay.
Oh, we're taking roll call, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Commissioner Aikman motions to approve the agenda. Commissioner Trujillo seconds.
Roll call vote. Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Tolentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Aikman,
Yes.
Commissioner Arizon,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
And that's everyone, right? So the agenda is approved. So next item of business is public statements. Do we have any written statements from the public?
I don't have any public statements.
Wow. Okay. No statements from the public. In that case, moving on, the next item is approval of minutes. I'm so impressed with how quickly you always get the minutes to us. Thank you so much for our staff. So we have the minutes from July that were emailed out to us yesterday. Has everybody had enough time to look over the minutes?
Yes.
Does anyone need a minute?
I think I should be good.
Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Much I could see any.
It's just a tiny little thing, but we are missing an N on commission discussion. So we could update that. I don't think that requires a motion, though. That's just clerical error, so we'll call that. All right, then. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes of July 1st, 2020.
Thank you, Commissioner Aikman.
I'll go. Go ahead. I'm
Commissioner
sorry.
Arizon, seconds. Thank you. And roll call vote.
Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Tolentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Aikman,
Yes.
Commissioner Arizon,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
And that's a yes.
Wonderful. I'm moving on. So our new business, the first item of business that I see on there is the issue that Commissioner Trujillo brought up at the last meeting, which was concern about possible speeding. I think on Park Avenue, you had said at San Fernando Park, and so I had reached out to the police department for clarification on that. Sergeant Aguirre said that he believes you're referring to Recreation Park, and that there were not a significant number of calls or anything recently. Commissioner Trujillo, I wanted to give you a chance to give us an update on that or what your thoughts were.
Yeah, so I think one of the issues is that, of course, we always have speeders going through here, but I think it could we can actually help to bring more of an awareness. I think maybe just the idea of even placing speed limit signs as they're entering versus like halfway through. I think most of our signs are already halfway down, you know, by the time you're already through most of the park area. And I'm wondering if there's anything we could do along that line to, you know, post signs where they're more visible as soon as you're going into the park area, beginning on First Street, I think it is, and also over on Third Street, if that might be a possibility.
Well, I don't think that
Fourth Street, I'm sorry.
I don't think that we can do anything like that without a study of sorts or anything proving that it is a major issue. So I'm hoping that Sergeant Aguirre could give us some updates on what he thinks might be the best way forward on that.
Yeah, I think I'll defer actually on that to Matthew, because that's going to be any placement of signs is going to have to be undertaken after at least some sort of speed survey, and that's not done at our level. That's done with the city engineers.
Have you given a significant number of tickets in the last few months in that area, or?
No, in fact, after last meeting, I checked to see what the prevalence of calls were, and there were actually no speeding violations that were cited in the last 30 days in that area.
Where are you giving tickets? Give us,
You know, it's mostly the main thoroughfares in the city: San Fernando Road, Truman, Glen Oaks, Maclay. Those are historically the areas where we have the highest incidence of traffic collisions and injury traffic collisions. So we do most of our speed enforcement there. We do on some of the residential streets like 4th and 5th, and on South Workman and places like that as well. But mostly just in terms of overall numbers, the highest number of speeding tickets we get are on the major thoroughfares.
I'd also be interested, before we did any signage or anything, I feel like that's going to be an area that's going to be a major focus of the parking study that they're doing. So I would want to maybe see what's happening there to see if they're, if the parking, if they're going to put up additional signs with parking anyway, we might be able to work something in there. But Matthew, thoughts?
Yeah, I know following up on what Officer Aguirre said about a speed survey, I believe that is something that's in the works right now. It's something that we need to have completed this year. One of our engineering assistants is working on that, so I can tell you that is in process. As far as our procedures for doing the studies and things like that, I'm going to refer to Manuel right now, just because being fairly new, I'm not familiar with all the steps that we need to go through here at the city to do that. But I'll ask Manuel if he can give us a little bit of info on the process.
All right, so actually there are signs already out there on Park Avenue, 50-mile-an-hour signs. There is one at 4th Street, but there isn't one at, there is one at 4th Street, but not one at 1st Street. That section of Park Avenue is 50 miles an hour. We could probably wait for this traffic study to take place before we would do any additional orders of signs. Another thing that can be done is do a traffic study. However, that'd be similar to the speed humps. Excuse me?
Okay.
Maybe- Go
I
ahead.
think perhaps then what we should probably do is go ahead and just table this issue for a few months until we hear back on the traffic study.
Yeah, I can definitely report back on at the next meeting on where we are with an update on that survey and where we are when we think that will be completed, and then we can look at next steps after that.
Do we need to motion to table this, or is there, what do I need to do on that?
Yeah, that's table the motion.
Okay, so I motion that we table it. Can I get a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Commissioner, Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Tolentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Aikman,
Yes.
Commissioner Arizon,
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
Okay, so we will return to that at a later date, and hopefully by then we'll have more information on what's going on with the parking situation, and we can use that information too. Thank you so much. So next on new business, the San Fernando Safe and Active Streets Implementation Plan. Who is providing our update on that?
I'll be providing that tonight, Chair Moore. I have a small, very brief, maybe 6-slide PowerPoint presentation for you all on this. And I am going to see if I can get access to the screen. Can everybody see the first slide here that says Safe and Active Streets Implementation Plan?
Yes,
Yes.
we are good to go.
Let me turn this into a slideshow so that I can walk through this for you. So I wanted to give you an update on this and some background. Essentially, the city adopted a Safe and Active Streets plan back in 2018. And this was something that the Transportation Commission at that time was actually involved in. And in fact, Commissioner Aikman, Commissioner Arizon, and Commissioner Trujillo might have some recollection of us going through that process in 2017 and 2018. It was adopted in January of 2018. And essentially it is it's a planning document that combines both your traditional safe routes to school plan and an active transportation plan that focuses on walkability and pedestrian walkability and biking through the city. And it was a large scale effort at that time. It involved the city council, as I was saying before, the Transportation Commission, our city consultants, our staff, schools, police department, community leaders, and the residents at large. And there was quite a bit of feedback during that process. Citywide evaluation, looking at existing conditions, everything from our sidewalks, lighting, crosswalks, curb ramps, looking at accident data going back several years, looking at pedestrian and biking counts throughout the city, and coming up with goals and giving general guidance and recommendation for future projects. So this was adopted in 2018. This really, we're kind of moving on to the next step. So I wanted to walk through you kind of how we've gone about these next steps. Oops, sorry, let me go back one. On the funding end, all of this has been funded through Caltrans sustainability grants. The original work that we did on the Safe and Active Streets plan that was adopted in 2018 was funded through a Caltrans grant. And starting in 2018, 2019, the city partnered with a couple of nonprofits that have experience in moving forward to the next phase, implementing actual active transportation plans in cities, focusing on pedestrian and biking through cities. Caltrans allows cities to have sub-applicants that are nonprofits to help them put together these plans. And through our partnership, we were granted a new award in 2019 for taking us to this next step, this implementation plan. We would have gotten started on this a little bit sooner, but COVID kind of came along and slowed this down for the last several months. The contract was awarded to Local Government Commission, who's the nonprofit agency who helped us secure the grant, and their expertise is in planning. And then Public Health Associates, who's one of the firms that worked on the original Safe and Active Streets plan, will be partnering with them, and they specialize in community outreach.
So I spoke to the grandma.
Sorry.
And so, so that contract was awarded last month by council. We're kind of going through just finalizing those contracts. They've returned it to us, and we're just finalizing the execution of that contract. But really what I want to focus on tonight is the next steps in developing this implementation plan. So that is what Local Government Commission and Public Health Associates are kind of here to help us do. We will be, once we have the contract finalized, we'll be holding a kickoff meeting with them, starting the initial stages of planning. One of the things they're going to help us do right off the bat is put out an RFP for procuring a transportation design firm that specializes in designing bike paths and focused on walkability and active transportation through cities. So they're going to help us bring this technical consultant on board. At the same time, they'll be developing the community outreach strategy. They'll developing a stakeholder list. And that stakeholder list, just like last time, is going to be very broad. It's going to include input from schools, police department, community leaders, and staff. Everybody throughout the city will be looked at in developing the stakeholder list. And then a more targeted group is going to be formed, a community advisory group that's going to be involved in several key meetings as this is being developed by our LGC, our planning consultant, and the transportation design firm that we bring on board. After that, the community advisory group is brought on board. One of the things we'll be doing is going out and conducting new bike and walkability audits. That was kind of done as part of the original plan, but this will bring us some new information. But what I've highlighted here in red really focuses on the involvement that the community will have. And I highlighted the 3 items here because I want to emphasize that this is an iterative process. So there'll be community meetings where we'll be seeking input after we do audits, getting comments from the community, working with the targeted advisory group, developing conceptual designs, bringing those back to the targeted advisory group, holding meetings and getting feedback from the community. And that'll probably a process that repeats a couple of times so that we end up with a well-vetted list of targeted and prioritized projects that focus on safe walkability and biking through the city. So this is kind of our first effort to really start looking at targeted projects that are focused on safety, looking at key areas of the city, looking at new walkability and biking audit data and accident data, and coming back with a final implementation plan that would first come to the Transportation Commission for recommendation to the City Council, and then we would bring that to City Council for adoption of this final plan. One of the, obviously, some of the questions you might have right off the bat is, how do we do this during COVID? And that will be one of the tasks that both LGC and Public Health Associates will have in terms of what are the strategies that we will do to seek community input? How are we going to hold these meetings? So obviously we're going to be looking at online formats like Zoom to hold meetings. But also one of their ideas is putting up project data on a website where we can advertise it. People can look at the work that's being done as the project is moving along, giving feedback. But we're going to be looking at kind of these creative strategies to do this during COVID. How do we do outreach and how do we work it with groups during this time? So I basically wanted to introduce the idea of, that we're going to be moving forward and kicking this project off, as well as my goal would be to bring Local Governments Commission, LGC, bringing them to the Transportation Commission to kind of get into a little more detail about what I'm talking about tonight, so you can understand. But I really wanted to give you an update and let you know that this is something that we're starting to move forward on. We have grant funds to start developing these conceptual designs. The end product will be something that we will be able to build off of. So it'll be developing funding strategies. How are we going to pay for these prioritized projects, as well as how are we going to implement them over time? So again, if we're going to look at what the community feels are the most important projects, and how are we going to phase those in over time? How are we going to pay for those? And that's really what we're left with at the end. So when we get to the end of this process, we'll be bringing on design firms that will actually design to this list of prioritized projects. So essentially, I just wanted to introduce that tonight, and open it up to questions that you might have.
Thank you very much.
You have an approximate time that you'd be starting?
Yeah, Commissioner
Bringing
Aikman.
this to the public and.
Yeah, so I think the first step, our goal would be, once we finalize the contract with LGC, I don't know if it'll be the next meeting in September. Probably it could be as early as September or October, coming back to the Transportation Commission to present you to LGC, where you can ask targeted questions, and then we can start getting a little. By then, we will have started to develop schedules. How, we've started the process of bringing on the transportation design firm. So I can't say right now what our exact schedule is, but looking over the overall process, I expect that this would probably take us through, like, completing everything, bringing on the design firm, running these meetings. Those meetings will probably be happening sometime in the winter time, maybe into late winter, early spring, and then coming back probably more in the late spring before this end of this fiscal year, hopefully by May, June, with this final plan. So this is a process that's going to take several months, and it'll probably take a little bit longer because of the challenges of not being able to run meetings in person as often as we might like. But I would expect that we would have meetings in front of the commission and community meetings probably in January, February would be my best guess.
Any other commissioner questions? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Commissioner. If I may, I did happen to stumble across some of the plans that we had seen in the past. And I want to say that I think it included some areas where they were actually going to section off for outdoor eating, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure if it's the same plans that I've seen, but I had seen in the plans that we had gone over right about that time. And it seems like a really appropriate time as far as, like, especially as they're, doing the outdoors, eating outside and all this kind of stuff. By chance, is there a possibility that maybe just to maybe inform us, or just to give us an update, or if that's something that was part of the plan? Because if I recall from the plans that had been put out there, it included bike paths, walking paths, and then also within those walking paths was in some of those areas where the restaurants were. Maybe you could refresh us somehow or give us an update, or maybe even possibly can we get those PDF files possibly just to look it over? That's it.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Trujillo. I to be quite honest with you, I don't remember if that was in the actual Safe and Active Streets plan. It's possible that it was. I can certainly try to research what you're referring to and see and send that out. But as kind of to your bigger question, can that be involved in sort of this process as we're doing this implementation plan? I think that's absolutely, those are the types of input and comments that would be coming forward through either the community advisory group, that targeted group I was telling you about, during outreach to the overall stakeholder list, and as well as to the broader community. So I think as these, because it's going to be happening, you know, this iterative process where something is, an idea is developed, it's shared with the smaller group and the overall community for feedback and comment. I think that will be a really good opportunity to be able to start bringing in these ideas, probably early on, how that might tie into how walkability and biking to these outdoor eating areas would work. So absolutely, I think that'll be a part of the process through engagement with stakeholders.
Thank you.
I have a couple of comments. I think we're gonna get an accidental test run of that because I do know that they shut down some areas this weekend. So we are, planned or not, getting, I think, a test run of that. So we will definitely get some ideas. Yeah, so I will follow up with a question on that later because it's not completely related to this, but a couple questions. I don't know, I'm hoping that Manuel or Maria, that somebody can fill me in. Was an ad hoc ever formed for this?
I remember one being formed. I don't have any recall of it.
I thought I recall now.
I remember the issue.
Okay, do we have a list of our ad hocs somewhere? I should know this, but I don't.
I can check with the city clerk and see if there's a list of ad hocs.
Okay, because I kind of felt like we should probably, I'm just gonna throw out there that we should consider maybe next month motioning to create an ad hoc, because here's sort of my thought, is that a couple of us would want to be involved in these community efforts, but we can't all be involved in the community efforts without, you know, being Brown Act violations. So the other question that I had, which I guess would need to be checked with the city clerk or legal, is are we allowed to do city webinars during this time? Does anybody know? Have we done any?
I don't believe we've done any, no. So I think this is part of the
Okay.
the creative process, is figuring out like how are we able to do these types of things. And I think when I bring LGC forward, I think it'll be a really good opportunity for the commission to come with all these types of questions, so we could really vet this whole process really well, but give you an opportunity to really ask a lot of upfront questions about how this should run.
Because my thought was, when you said it might take longer, my thought was actually this might be a really good time, that everybody's getting so much more used to tools like Zoom and things like that, and that people who might not necessarily make time to show up to the city council chambers for a community hearing might, you know, log on at the dinner table for a webinar. So who knows if we could host a webinar. I know the way that those work, you can have the people from LGC and yourself as panelists, and then have the community just as attendees. So I'm really hoping and pushing for that we can make that work. And maybe this turned out to be a really good time to get community input, especially because I think a lot of people are walking and biking right now because they're trying to get out just to do something outside for socially distanced recreation. So it's a very good time to think about it, and it's probably on people's minds a lot right now too. So yeah, who knows, maybe it's actually the perfect time. So thank you so much for giving us that. Are there any other commissioner comments before we move on? I think we should wait to double check that we don't accidentally already have an ad hoc, and then maybe do an ad hoc next month, because it sounds like that would be a good time once there's a timeline and everything.
Sure, and then I could look at talking to LGC and having them maybe come back in October for a presentation to the commission.
Okay, and I will double triple check that we don't already have an ad hoc.
Okay.
All right, without any other objection then, it sounds like everybody's ready to move on. We'll go ahead and move on to commission communication. Commissioner Aikman, comments?
I'd like to compliment our police department for the job that they did with the fireworks. There was a real concerted effort of the officers being out on the street trying to shut it down. And we finally had peace, I think, over 4th of July. It finally has calmed down. It still goes up once in a while. It's like being in a firing line. It's just really annoying. And I got out of town over Memorial Day. I went up to my son's house and house set for him so that I wouldn't have to listen to it for a few days. But anyway, good job. I appreciate it. It's a quality of life situation, and I appreciate the officers doing the job they did. The other thing is, Clarissa and I volunteered for the ad hoc committee for the parking that was going to be coming through a parking study. And I think both of us ran around and talked to everybody that we could to get them on to be able to participate and give ideas to the people that were handling the parking situation. And after being a lot of pressure put on for a couple of weeks by the people running the parking situation and us getting everything together to give it to them, nothing happened. So I would like an update for whoever is handling that to give us an update as to why it's so quiet. We haven't heard one. Clarissa, have you heard anything on it? No, I don't think either one of us have.
No, I haven't received anything.
Oh, you brought forth people too that were going to participate in the parking.
Yes.
And I did too. And it took a while to rustle people up to do that. And then nothing. It just died. So I would like an update on that. Maybe it's just been tabled or something.
Since this isn't actually an agenda item, so we can't like have a real discussion on it, can we put it on the agenda for next month, but then hopefully staff can address it?
We probably could do that, except we don't have nothing to talk about. It's been quiet now for a month.
Well, that would be the agenda item, which is why.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we can get an update on why nothing is happening.
okay. Chris, do you know anything about it? Maybe he can give us an update on it next week, next month. Hello.
You mean?
Anyway, on a personal level, I'm sending my youngest grandson to the Army. He goes in Sunday. I'm not happy about it. The coronavirus is going like crazy in there in Georgia. He's going to be in Fort Benning, Georgia. And they're also getting hit by hurricanes. So he's going to be in the middle of it. It's not going to be easy. And I'm not happy about it. But anyway, I'm very proud of him. And that's all I have.
All right. Commissioner Trujillo?
No, I don't have anything other than thank you everybody for your time, your commitment to the commission and all the city staff and of course our officers, and thank you so much. I do gotta say, even though the fireworks are down a little bit, oh my God, sometimes it sounded like a bomb, but that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Arizon?
No, I don't have anything to add besides what everybody has said. Happy to serve at the commission and work with Manuel, Maria, and our new director. Hopefully we don't discourage him and overwhelm him with our questions. But as he may know, we're here because we care about this little city, and hopefully we do better and make it better altogether. Thank you.
Vice Chair Tolentino?
No comments at this moment either. Everything's been pretty quiet for the past couple of weeks.
Probably a good thing, given that we all need to keep it quiet to crush this virus. I just had one thing that I was excited to see. This week I saw that they closed, I saw it on Facebook, on the city's Facebook page, that it said, I'll just read it from the city's Facebook page. It said, "Attention San Fernando, in order to allow for expanded outdoor services, the city has approved a temporary closure of San Fernando Road between Maclay Avenue and Brand Boulevard. Stop by downtown San Fernando and enjoy the fresh air, a great meal, or shop at one of the local shops while staying socially distant." I didn't have a chance to go down there to see. It seemed they closed Saturday at 4 and stayed closed all day Sunday. So I'm very interested to see what the impact on that was on our neighboring communities, to see if there were any reports of people speeding on other smaller residential streets, or you know, complaints about the traffic in the neighboring areas. But overall, I'm very interested to see what that brings about, but I'm also very curious the impact that will have. Are we going to keep doing this each weekend? Do we know if they approved it for every weekend?
I could address, do you want me to address that in
Yeah.
once you're done with your comments? And I
So,
could do some comments?
I would be curious to know, because as Commissioner Aikman brought up, that they were going to do in that study a weekend study, and I don't know if that's been done yet. And if we're closing our main drag every weekend, then it certainly have an impact on that. But maybe we just want to keep it that way. I don't know. So I would be very curious. So I would ask that we put an update on the agenda for next month, so that we can hear about what changes have occurred as a result of that, or as a result of COVID, and also the fact that schools will remain closed, at least this month. And probably, I know they said the focus groups were going to happen through September, October, and more traffic studies, but yeah, still staying pretty quiet. So I would request an update next month. So
Very good.
that's all I have. Oh, sorry, my bad. Staff communication. I totally looked right down at that and didn't see it. Staff communication, go ahead.
All right, so just to give you an update on a couple of projects. The annual street resurfacing project. We were able to pave Lazard Street from 4th to Glen Oaks, and Workman from Glen Oaks to 7th Street. The Glen Oaks Boulevard project is moving along as scheduled. We're doing concrete work this week and next week, and we're looking at paving, if not later this month, sometime in September. That's all I have for right now.
Wonderful, thank you.
I don't have too much, other than I will. We could put on an update on next meeting for looking into what impacts there might have been from the street closures right at the mall at San Fernando and Brand and Maclay. What I know right now is just that it is something that they're trying out for a period of time, and but I don't have any actual data on how that's had an impact on the community, surrounding community. So we can maybe look into that over the next month.
My question though was, when you say a period of time, it wasn't just last weekend. It's going to keep happening, right?
Yes, I just don't know how long.
Yeah, okay.
At this point, I don't know exactly how long that would last. And that's it. Other than I just want to say I've finished my first month here, and I'm getting familiar with the city more and more all the time, and I thank the commission and for your service, and looking forward to working with you on the project that I talked about today and all other projects. So thank you for your willingness to serve, and I'm here to serve you and work with you. So thank you.
We look forward to working from a distance with you for the foreseeable future as well. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second the motion.
Thank you.
You need a roll call on that, I
Yeah.
think?
Chair Moore,
Yes.
Vice Chair Tolentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Aikman,
Yes.
Commissioner Arizon.
Yes.
Commissioner Trujillo.
Yes.
And with that, the meeting is adjourned at 7:41 p.m. Thank you all, and you have a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of August.
Thank you. Bye,
Stay
everybody.
cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.